Hi, my name is Frannie Reilly, and I'm here today to talk with you about what it's like to be a transactional attorney. What we're going to first talk about is that there are different types of attorneys, two main different types of attorneys. The first are what's commonly known as litigation attorneys. They're also known as litigators or trial lawyers, and I'm sure that many of you heard of them from TV shows or family members who are trial attorneys. Typically, litigators attend court. So they're the ones when you think of the courthouse and trials and juries, that's what litigation attorneys do. Within the litigation attorneys group, there's also different types of litigation attorneys. Some litigation attorneys practice civil law, and some litigation attorneys practice criminal law. There's also a whole other group of attorneys that are what's known as transactional attorneys. And you might also hear that they're called corporate attorneys. And so that's what I'm here to talk with you about today, is that if you're interested in the law, if you're interested in the legal field, and you're not really sure that litigation is the route that you'd like to take, there's a whole other type of practice known as transactional attorneys. And typically, transactional attorneys will work with individuals or organizations and the different types of legal issues that these either individuals or organizations face based on their different types of businesses. So similar to litigation attorneys, within the group of transactional attorneys, there's also a subgroup. There are also subgroups. Some of these attorneys practice business or corporate law, which we're going to talk about. Some of them practice real estate law. Some of them practice a combination of the two. Some of them do estate planning. So even within the group of transactional attorneys, there's also many different types of fields that could interest you. So first, let's also talk about what are some of the skills that are needed in order to be a transactional attorney. First and foremost, you need to make sure that you have the ability to be able to negotiate. So that means learning how to give and take, learning how to come up with good solutions and compromises, and that requires you to really be able to work well with others. So typically, when people think of attorneys, they think of people fighting with one another and arguing and yelling and, pacing in front of a jury. Transactional attorneys, it's the complete opposite. The goal is that you have to be able to work with others. You have to be able to work with opposing counsel. You have to be able to work with your clients in order to make sure that you're able to either get a transaction completed or listen and understand what the client's saying to you so that you understand what the client's goal is and you can help figure out how the client can achieve that goal. Um, Another really important skill is to be excellent at problem solving. So a client might come to you and say, I want to either buy a business or sell a business, and here are the 5 different problems that I'm running into. It's really important as your client's transactional attorney for you to be able to think about what are all of these problems, what are the legal issues, involved with some of these problems, and then work with your client and potentially other opposing counsel to come up with good solutions to solve those problems. You have to be a critical thinker. You have to really think about the issues and think about what do certain decisions, what does that, how does that impact others? And so it's really important to be able to do what's called analytical thinking. You also need to be able to write in a clear and concise manner. So especially when you're writing agreements or putting together various documents, It's really important to be able to understand or to convey what it is that the agreement is between the different parties. So how do transactional clients help or how do transactional attorneys help their clients? One way is you work with a transactional attorney when starting a new business. So you might have a client come to you. The client has a really amazing idea as far as how to start a new business. And so as a transactional attorney, you would be able to help the client um, form the business, maybe through the Pennsylvania Department of State, if that's where your client's located, and really help your client to think through, again, what are some of the legal issues that can come up as far as, when you start a new business. Another way that transactional attorneys are able to help their clients is through buying or selling a business. So let's say you started a new business. Um, you've really grown the business and now you're looking to sell the business. The next step would be to really understand what you need to do from that perspective. Then the next area in which transactional attorneys help their clients is expanding and growing that business. So it's uh, working with a client to understand how does the client want to grow their business. Do they want to maybe they started their business in Pennsylvania, they're looking to expand to New Jersey or Delaware or New York or California. So really understanding what it is that the client is looking to do. And again, identifying what are some of the legal issues that your clients might face as they expand and grow their business. The next way, or another way, the transactional attorneys help their clients is through buying or selling real estate. So either as individuals, so as individuals are potentially buying or selling a house or land, they might have questions. And so they would look to their transactional attorneys to help them, um, again, with that purchase or with that sale. So let's talk about starting a new business and how transactional attorneys play a role in that. Um, Again, this is a list of questions that as a transactional attorney you're thinking about. So some of them could be what type of business, um, and then are there any laws or regulations that the client would need to know before starting the business? So if you're looking to open up, let's say, for example, a restaurant, you might need to know what are the different licenses that are required, potentially from the Department of Health that I would need to know and that you would need to share with your client before starting the business. The next question is, does the client need any special permits or licenses? Um, and then how does the client incorporate the new business? So that just means now that your client is ready to move forward, how do you work with the client to form the new business? Um, what documents are required to be filed if you're looking in Pennsylvania with the Pennsylvania Department of State. If not in Pennsylvania, then you work with a client to figure out, exactly where will the business be located. Um, and then you're going to want to find out who makes the decisions for the business. So is it the owners of the business? Have the owners hired a manager for the business? Those are all things that you're going to want to work with your client to figure out. Then the next would be potentially buying or selling a business. And with these types, you would hear things about acquisitions or mergers. And an acquisition is one business buying another business or one individual buying a business. The other could be a merger where you're taking two different businesses and working together to combine them. Um, and you might say, well, this business is, is selling sneakers, this business is selling dress shoes. Is there a way to combine them all into, one business? And the attorneys will work with the transactional attorneys will work with the different businesses to make sure that this is actually something that would be a good fit for both of them. One thing to help figure out is just how much the client will pay to buy the business, how much is the client willing to pay to sell the business. And then, being the attorney representing one business, it's important to make sure that you're what's called a good advocate for your client. And it's also really important to make sure that you are able to work with other attorneys to make the business transaction take place. The next is talking about a transactional attorney will talk about how to expand and grow a business. So let's say, for example, you are starting a business and it's a small business to begin with, and you find that your business has really grown. So what you'll do is work with a transactional attorney to maybe enter into a lease if the new business is renting a space, or an agreement of sale if a business is either buying space or selling space. Um, and then you'll also work with a business to figure out are there any contracts that are needed to be drafted, either for goods or services that the business will use, or that the business will be selling. Um, and then, again, will the business enter into other contracts with other businesses? If so, it'll be really important to make sure that you review, as the transactional attorney, that you review those contracts to make sure that the business is protected. And then another way is the buying or selling of real estate. So we briefly touched on that as far as how some attorneys can help individuals buy or sell personal real estate, things like homes or condos or land. But then they also can help businesses buy and sell commercial real estate. So stores, malls, shopping centers, um, you know, what we typically think of as commercial buildings. So both, are very, in both ways, transactional attorneys are able to work with their clients to figure out what types of legal issues are there involved in the buying or selling of real estate, and then work with their clients through those issues. And so that is the end of the presentation. This is just my information, and I hope that you've enjoyed the presentation about what it's like to be a transactional attorney.